What do I think of when I think of lead?
When I think of lead, weight, heaviness, solidness.
LEAD, the stuff in pencils.
Bullets.
Well, lead's an element.
It's an element. I think steel.
Lead, follow or get out of the way.
It's a piece of metal often found in pipes.
It's a metal, yeah, it's a metal.
I heard a scream that I had never heard in my life before, coming out of this little bitty body. It was a scream of sheer pain. There were 3, maybe 4 nurses holding her down, and they said, "Mother, hold her head." And so the person that she saw when she was being inflicted with pain was the person that she trusted. It was hard to sit and watch her have to go through chelation therapy, which was 2 shots per day for a 3-day period in some cases it was a 5-day period. And all I kept saying to myself is that we had to do this because it was going to make her better. That was the first time I found out what lead could do to a child's system. And it hurt even more to find out that lead poisoning was an entirely preventable disease. I don't know how much of that is her and how much of that is lead. I don't think that it's fair for me to have to sit and wonder if she's going to end up with attention deficit disorder, if she's going to end up with a learning disability. Good. I would hope that people would consciously be aware of lead-based paint when they walk into a unit and protect themselves and protect our children. There's a child here, and this is old paint. The combination of the two, knowledge is power, is a real serious saying. Because if they just consciously think for 1 minute before they start, that can make all the difference. If not for the sake of the family that you are in the house doing the work for your own.
Sort of like getting caught up in a whirlwind. We went through, in a nutshell, the financial and emotional depression that follows lead poisoning. Once we found out that we poisoned the whole family, we had to find out how to do this right. It's completely changed my work. I can't bid on a job in an old house without including precautions for lead paint. 1, so I don't bring it home to my family. My family doesn't need it. We've already been through that. The occupants of the building I'm working on don't need it either.
Katie, do you have a floor?
I know what they're going to go through, and nobody should have to go through that.
Mom, you have 10?
Primarily it boils down to a few very simple things. 1, don't make a mess. 2, if you do make a mess, make it in as small an area as possible, containment. 3, when you make a mess, clean it up. And clean it up completely. It's not broom clean, it's not shop vac clean. It's the same cleaning as if you took your car and to have it detailed. So they know that by doing things the traditional way, they poison kids. They know there's enough evidence available now that renovation poisons kids. There's enough evidence that some maintenance jobs create enough of a hazard to poison kids. This is, yes, something we need to change.
For everything we do, every step we take, their lives are on the line, and their futures are at stake. Let's keep their future bright.
You be sure and eat your breakfast now.
What's the big hurry? We don't have to go anyplace today. I could have slept in.
I want you here to watch your brother and sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Now what? Yes?
It's Drake from maintenance. You got a problem with your thermostat?
Just a minute.
What seems to be the problem?
It's broke. It's over here. If I turn it up to 72, we roast. If I turn it down to 64, we freeze.
Looks like we'll have to replace it.
Why didn't you notify me?
Ma'am, this is the first time I've seen it.
No, I mean, why didn't you call me and tell me you were coming over to fix it today? Aren't you supposed to notify us ahead of time? I've got to go to work, and I'm late already.
Sorry, ma'am. Someone should have called you. Maybe you weren't home.
No, I have an answer machine. No one called.
I could call them and have somebody reschedule it, maybe next week.
No, you're here now, and I want it fixed. The problem is the kids are home from school today. Is it okay if they stay here while you work?
Oh. They really need to be away when I'm working,
What am I supposed to do with them?
as long as they don't get in the way.
They won't. You be good. Stay out of the man's way. I'll call you in a little bit.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Drake. Gonna fix your thermostat for you. You know what a thermostat is? I bet you'd like this back, huh? Old Drake will clean it up for you. Yeah, that's a fine-looking ball. Here you go. Now, why don't you play with it in the other room so it doesn't get dirty again, okay?
Thank you.
So that's all it is, huh? Just that dinky little hole?
That's it.
Shouldn't take very long, you think?
Nah. Hey, you want to give me a hand with this drop cloth?
Sure, Tony. You talk to the people that live here?
The boss called and talked to her. She has a little dog. She said she'd take him outside till we get done.
Good. You ever try to work with somebody's dog yapping at your feet? I like dogs, but not other people's, you know what I mean?
Sure do.
Once, this lady had this little dog. Oh, what do you call it? Some kind of dog that looks like a dust mop. You know when they got those kind of faces that look like somebody smashed it in the door? And they sniff all the time, too, like it needs Dristan.
Pekingese.
What?
Pekingese, that's what kind of dog it was.
Oh, yeah, right. So anyways, this dog keeps running around and growling and barking and stuff. So I told the lady, I go, look, lady, I do not want to step on your dog and squash it.
What'd she do?
Shut it up in the bedroom. So then he keeps barking and scratching on the door. So I had to go back and fix the door.
Hey, aren't you going to wear your coveralls?
For that little hole? Nah, it's too hot in here. I'll just take a shower when I get home.
Suit yourself. Be careful with that.
What's the matter?
You get it too hot, you'll get cracks in the mud.
Okay. Mud's almost dry anyways. You want one?
You're not going to smoke that thing now, are you?
Well, why? We gotta wait for the mud to dry.
Freddie, if you have to smoke, take it outside. Just keep it away from me.
Okay, okay. Be cool.
I got to go check in at the office. I wonder if she's got a phone around here I can use. Did you see a phone when we came in here?
There it is. We'll have the room comfy in just a couple of minutes. Uh-oh. Does your mom have a broom and a dustpan I could borrow? Could you get it for me, please? I always like to leave a clean job area. I'm sure your mom would appreciate it, too. Here you go. I'll just get my tools and be on my way. Y'all be good.
So where's the next job?
The other building, 614, I think.
We got time for lunch. I am starving, man.
Hey! Don't put that in there! Kids, get in that stuff. It makes a mess. Put it in my truck.
So, we got time for some lunch?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, man, you brought yours. I was hoping we could go out for something.
You can have part of mine. You like tuna fish?
Nah, it's okay.
Oh, Freddie, you gotta do that while I'm eating. I told you I hate those stinking things.
Just be cool, man, okay? Just be cool.
Maintenance. Hello? Anybody home? Oh, hi. So I guess you've heard about all the problems we're having with lead paint. It's all around this place. Come on over here. See that? That's the culprit. But it's not just the paint you have to worry about. It's the dust. That's your biggest trouble. Lead dust can get everywhere if you're not careful. That's why when you're dealing with lead-based paint, you've really got two jobs. You've got your repair or maintenance job, and you've got your dust job. But you already know about that, right? Now you want to know how to deal with it. Here's the key. It's your planning tool. It's a checklist that'll guide you through every step of the job. It'll tell you what kind of equipment and materials you'll need, how to set up the work area, control the dust, how to clean up the work area after the job is done, and so on. So maybe you've got a small job like this, or a big job like this. Right, Ben?
You've got that right.
Or maybe you're just doing something like this. The first step of any job is to determine the risk and the potential exposure to lead dust that you might face while you're doing the job. Usually, determining the risk is done by the supervisor. But whether you're a supervisor or not, it's something everyone ought to know. In your planning tool, you'll find a list of qualifying questions. Now, let's see. And the first big question is, Kirby.
Huh?
You do have a planning tool, don't you?
A what?
A planning tool. One of these.
Oh, thanks.
Now, as I was saying, the first question to ask is, was the building constructed before 1978? If the answer is no, chances are the paint doesn't contain lead. But if it's yes, you could be dealing with lead-based paint. Now you'll have to answer the remaining questions.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Now, what if I don't know when the building was constructed?
Then you should assume that it was built before 78 and treat the paint as if it contains lead.
Oh.
It's a lot safer to assume paint has lead than it is to take a chance.
Okay.
Now, once you've determined that you're dealing with lead paint, you'll have to answer the other questions. Will this job create dust that might contain lead? Will it disturb any known or suspected lead-based paint? Will it require cleanup of dust or debris that may contain lead? And will it disturb any known or suspected lead-contaminated soil? If you can answer no to all these questions, then you've got a green light to go ahead. But if there's a yes, the next step is to determine the level of the risk. There are two levels of risk, high risk and low risk. The big difference between the two is the amount of dust. Now, there are three ways to determine whether a risk is high or low. The size of the area is one. A small work area like this, or this, or this, isn't going to pose a big problem with dust. But a larger work area usually means more dust can be created. Some guidelines say anything over 2 square feet is a high-risk job, but it's not always that simple. Some small areas can create a lot of dust just by where they're located. And there are larger areas that can create very little dust. So you will have to look at some other factors too, such as the condition of the surface. Obviously, the worse its condition is, the more dust you'll generate. The third and the most important thing to consider is the amount of dust that will be generated by the work you're doing. Again, it depends a lot on the job and the way you go about it.
Excuse me,
Yes?
you're saying I've got a high-risk job if the area is bigger than 2 square feet, and then you're saying maybe it's not. How do I know for sure?
That's a good question. I tell you what we'll do. Let's ask John Zilka, consultant and trainer. John, the guidelines can be confusing. How do you determine the level of risk on any given job?
Well, a very small job can create tremendous amounts of lead dust if not properly done. On the flip side, a very large job can create very little dust if you're using safe work practices, such as working wet.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, thanks a lot, John.
Anytime.
We'll be coming back to you from time to time. Now, once the job is scheduled, the next thing is to notify the residents.
We're just trying to protect your health, ma'am. Now, to do that, I need you to understand that we're going to be scraping all the paint from these walls and the door...
At the very least, the resident will have to stay out of the work area. For a larger job like this, you may have to make arrangements for the residents to go to another place until the work is completed.
We have to do all that?
But this is the big part, right here. Everything that dust could settle on, the furniture, rugs, any personal items, you'll have to make arrangements to get them moved to a safe place or cover them before you start work. And be sure to remind people that you're taking these precautions to protect their health.
It's for the safety of your family, ma'am.
Oh, okay, that's done. Now, the next thing we'll do is plan what you have to take on the job with you. That's where the planning tool really comes in handy. For the supervisor, it helps determine how the job should be done. On the job, it's a checklist that guides you through everything that's necessary to complete the job safely. Now, let's see, what's Kirby going to need?
Excuse me, do I really need all this stuff?
Just the items that are circled on your cards.
Oh, okay.
Let's start with your last line of defense against lead, your personal protective equipment. Now, here's your protective eyewear. And your gloves. These are for cleaning. Now, here we have coveralls. These are disposable. These aren't. You can use either one. They help you keep from taking dust home with you. Now, personally, I prefer these. Since they're disposable, you take them off when you're through. That way, you're not as likely to accidentally wear them off the job. Now, when you're through with these, they go out with the lead-contaminated waste. These are recyclable, but that doesn't mean that you take them home with you and clean them. No, it means you put them in a separate bag for your employer to send out for cleaning.
I have to wear those?
Oh, that's right. Dust can collect on your clothes. And when you leave the job site, you take that dust with you wherever you go. If you wear work clothes, vacuum off and change before you go home, and launder them separately. So you see, it's important to protect your clothes.
Okay, so which type would you like me to wear?
Well, whichever your employer provides.
I saw a recyclable back at the shop.
Now, for a high-risk job, you may need a couple of additional items. Some latex gloves or rubber gloves like this that you'll wear all the time, not just for cleaning up. It'll help protect your skin from the dust. And you'll need a respirator. Now, this is especially designed for lead dust because it has a HEPA filter, which means that it can trap little teeny tiny amounts of lead dust before they get to your lungs. But before you use a respirator, you'll need additional training and a medical checkup. Okay, Kirby, back to your job. Let's see. Materials. Okay. You need a roll of duct tape.
What's this for?
Oh, you'll see in a minute. It goes with this, a fresh roll of polyfilm. Make sure it's fresh. Never reuse a polyfilm.
Okay.
Next, some cleaner.
Oh, I've got a rag here and some water.
Sorry, Kirby. Water isn't enough.
Oh.
No, you need a good cleaner to deal with lead dust. Either an all-purpose cleaner like this, or a cleaner especially designed for lead, like this.
All-purpose cleaner.
There are a number of different types and brands of cleaner to choose from, but not all types can be used in all states, so check it out. And always be sure to use a good cleaner and not just water. Okay, let's see what next is circled on your planning tool. 6 mil poly bags.
Oh, I've got trash bags.
Kirby, this is not a trash bag. This is a trash bag. This is a 6 mil poly bag. Here's the difference. You don't want that happening with lead-contaminated waste. So, stick with the 6 mil. Now, just a few more materials. Cleaning rags, mop heads, a mister with water, a staple gun, and your utility knife.
Whoa, whoa, wait a minute. I've got all this stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me show you what you would need if you were doing a high-risk job. To deal with a lot of dust, you need a lot of cleaning equipment, like mops and buckets, maybe a broom and a dustpan and a mister, and a HEPA vac. It's not just an ordinary shop vac either. This one is for lead dust. And you'll need barriers and tape to warn people and keep them out of the work area.
There's enough stuff here to do another job.
You're right. That's because when you are dealing with lead-based paint, you have two things to do. You've got your maintenance problem to take care of, and you've got to control the lead dust. Each require the right tools and materials to do the job.
Okay.
Okay, so much for planning. On to preparation. This is preparation. It's what you do before you start work. This happens to be the preparation for a high-risk job. On a low-risk job, it won't be as extensive, but the idea is the same. It's what you do to stop lead contamination, to stop the dust. And it makes it a lot easier to do the final cleanup, too. Take a look around. See any dust? Well, maybe we need to focus in a little. Take a closer look. See that? It's what we call invisible dust. It's hard to see, but if there's lead in it, it can still contaminate a room, or worse. You see, it only takes this much lead dust to contaminate a whole apartment. Now, what do you think happens with invisible dust? Well, for a minute, think of me as the HVAC. Use your imaginations. Now, I move air, and I move dust. Now, where do you suppose all that dust goes? Right through there, into the return air vent, and then into the system, and then out of the supply air vents into every room in the unit, where it settles on everything, a bowl, or a plate, or a child's toy. You see, the heating and cooling system causes you two problems. It can disturb dust and contaminate the work area, and it can suck the dust in and contaminate every room in the apartment. So, that's why the HVAC has to be turned off and why all the vents in the immediate work area must be sealed. That's one of the first things you have to do to prepare for the job. How's it going, Kirby?
Hey there, I'm already ahead of you. I followed my planning tool. I shut down the HVAC, and I covered the vent with 6 mil poly. Now, how's that?
That looks good.
See? That's duct tape, sealed. Nothing's going in, and nothing's coming out.
Kirby?
Yeah?
Before you do anything else, take a look around. See if there's anything near the work area that could collect dust.
Oh.
If the resident hasn't moved furniture or other items from the immediate work area, you'll have to. If it's too large to be moved, cover it with poly. Always take a second look around to make sure everything is either moved or covered. All right, now it's time to put down the poly.
Okay, where do you want it?
Put it under the work area and use another little piece to cover the shelf to the floor. You want to keep the dust off the floor with a material that is clean and won't tear. Use as much material as you need for under the area and 2 feet beyond. usually at least 5 feet by 5 feet. The floor covering should be clean and disposable. Don't reuse it. That just spreads the dust around. Now, Kirby, you'll need to anchor the corners.
Duct tape, right?
That'll do the trick. Tape down the 2 corners opposite the wall. You want to keep the sheet from moving around while you're working.
That ought to do it.
When you're done with that, secure the poly to the wall below the work area.
Why would I do that?
It keeps dust and debris from contaminating the floor. If the poly isn't flush against the wall, dust can fall between the sheet and the wall. Pay attention to what you attach to. You want to keep the dust off the floor without damaging the wall. You can attach materials with painter's tape or a staple gun. A simpler idea is to use a self-adhesive plastic.
Okay, I've got the poly secured. The HVAC is taken care of. I'm suited up. Now, am I ready to do the job?
Everything looks ready to me, Kirby. But before we start, let's check out the high-risk situation. Ben and Scott are going to be dealing with a lot more dust on this job, so the preparations have to be more extensive. All the furniture and personal items have been removed. The HVAC has been turned off, and the vents have been covered. Every surface has been covered with poly. This entry gets special attention. You have to go in and out, but you also have to keep dust and debris from going with you. The solution is 2 overlapping sheets of poly that cover the door and still allow access. All these steps are done for one reason: containment, to keep certain things in, like dust, and to keep other things out, like people, pets, and anything that might get contaminated. Here, full body protection is a must. There's another precaution, too. They're wearing respirators. As I said before, respirators are for high-risk jobs where you may not be able to completely control the dust. But to use a respirator, you must be trained, it must be fitted to you, and you must pass a medical evaluation. John, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I do. Respirators, like any other safety equipment or tools, have limitations. The best way to deal with worker exposures is not to create them from the beginning.
Oh, so you're saying that if we control the amount of dust, really don't have to worry about those high-risk jobs?
No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying to you that specialized jobs like high-risk jobs require more specialized equipment and training. More training than we can get into in this session today.
Oh, great. Well, can you give us an example?
Yes, I can. Jobs involving major renovation work or vacancy preparation for turnover can create tremendous amounts of lead dust. And again, we have to be specially equipped and trained to deal with those types of activities.
Well, thanks, John. Well, let me get to my gear. We'll start tackling this job. So, you ready to get to work? Good. 3 rules about doing the job. First, work smart. Second, work wet. Third, work clean. Follow these 3 rules and you'll work safe. Now, how do you go about doing that? Well, working smart means to keep your eyes open to everything around you, to be aware of paint chips and dust, anything that can cause exposure to lead, like the residents, especially children, pregnant women, pets. It means to keep them out of the area. It means keeping the area secure when you're not there. Actually, there are many other ways of working smart. John, do you have anything to add to the list?
Yes, I do. The key to working smart is right there in front of you.
Oh, you mean my planning tool? So, where can I find what not to do?
You can find that in the planning tool, and it's called the Prohibited Work Practices card. It'll tell you things that should be done to keep you, your fellow workers, the residents, and your family safe.
I'll be sure to look those over. So, can you tell me anything else about working smart?
I can. I can tell you that the fact that if you use the planning tool like a roadmap, it'll guide you through the job from the beginning all the way to the end.
All right. Thanks, John. Now, let's take a look at the other rules, like working wet. That's what this is for. Right, Kirby?
I guess so.
Water keeps dust down, so before you start cutting around that hole, spray the area with water. You don't have to saturate it. Just make it damp. Use just enough to absorb the dust.
And this will stop all the dust?
Well, water won't eliminate it, but it'll make the dust heavy so it won't spread around the room. Water keeps the dust in one place. Then it's easy to clean it up. There are a number of ways to work wet. The items circled in your planning tool will show you what to do on your job, but anything that creates dust is done wet. For example, when you scrape paint, you scrape wet. When you sand wet. Prying, sawing, and drilling, they're all done wet. Now, here's a special situation. When you drill, you get a lot of dust. See, the drill bit carries it beyond the surface of whatever you're drilling, and that causes contamination. So, here's a quick and easy way to collect the dust. Just put a little shaving cream around the hole. I know what you're thinking. If I put shaving cream on the wall, how am I going to find the exact place where I was going to drill? Okay, it's real simple. You make your mark. I'm going to mist it with just a little bit of water. Now, I'm going to take a nail and tap it into my hole. Okay? Now, take a little shaving cream and put it around the nail. This is going to help me find my mark. Now, all I do is just ease the nail out, take my drill bit, find the hole, and there we have it. A hole drilled right where we want it with no dust. That's what we call working clean and working smart. Here's another example. Let's say you want to do some work on this outlet. Now here's a place where you definitely don't want to work wet. In fact, you never want to use water around any electrical fixtures, outlets, or switches. Do this instead. Take your utility knife and score the paint around the outside of the outlet cover. This should keep the paint from flaking or chipping when you remove the cover. Now, see? No torn paint, no flaking, no chipping. That's the idea. Don't disturb the paint if you don't have to. Smart. Now, let's see about working wet and clean. Hold on a minute, Kirby. What? Working clean means clean as you go. So, put the pieces in here as you cut them out. For a job like this, work in small sections at a time. In other words, take out small pieces rather than trying to handle it in one large chunk. It's easier to handle, and it'll minimize the dust. Hey, take a look at this. This is another way of keeping the work area clean. This is a catch bag. It will collect dust and debris before it hits the poly. If there's dust on the poly, you can track it around with you, and that makes an even bigger mess. So if you can, use a catch bag. On smaller jobs, you can also use a tack pad. This will grab dust too. Now, let's take a look at a bigger job. Again, the key phrase is clean as you go. Work in small sections and clean up the dust. This is a very important tool for jobs with a lot of dust. It's a HEPA vac, a vacuum with a HEPA filter to trap lead dust. That's something your shop vac doesn't have. A HEPA vac is needed for high-risk jobs, but if you have one, it's a good idea to use it on low-risk jobs too. One more thing. This has no place on the job. Never eat, drink, smoke, chew gum, or apply makeup while you're working. In fact, nothing goes in or around your mouth, not even a toothpick. Think about it. If you open this in the room, what are you exposing it to? That's right, the air and all the dust that's floating around in it. Plus, however much dust you've got on your hands is now on your food. Not a very healthy thing to put in your mouth. So, wait until you're away from the work area. Wait until you've had a chance to clean up. Then you can eat, drink, or smoke without having to worry about swallowing lead. Remember, work smart, work wet, work clean. Do all three, and you'll be working safe. Now, you know what this is. That's right. It's time for the most important part of the whole job, cleaning up. You say you've been cleaning up as you go, getting rid of loose debris? Good. That's exactly what you should be doing. But now we're talking about cleaning up after the job is done. Why is this so important? Because right now there's probably more lead dust and paint chips than there were before you started work. Your health and the health of the residents depend on how well you clean up the dust. Now, you might be using one of these or something like this. It all depends on the job and the amount of dust. But whether you're using a HEPA-vac or a mop or a wet broom or sponges and towelettes, there are some very specific procedures that have to be followed to do the job right.
Nice job, Kirby. Oh, thanks. A coat of paint and nobody will ever know the difference.
Well, now it's time to clean up.
Yeah, I got my broom and my dustpan right here.
No dry brooms allowed. That's one of the easiest ways I know of to contaminate a room and expose yourself to lead dust. Take one of your cleaning rags and get your cleaner, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
Good. Now wet down the rag with the cleaner and wipe it over the work area.
Okay, like this?
Just like that.
Okay, now what?
Now put the rag in the disposal bag.
Okay.
That's what we call wet, wipe, and toss. Wet the rag, wipe the area, and toss it.
But I only used it once.
True. But what did you pick up on the rag?
Oh, lead dust. So if I use it again, I might contaminate something.
That's right. You'll be spreading lead dust all over your nicely cleaned surface. Now, you'll need to rinse off the detergent with some clean water and a clean rag.
Okay. Wet, wipe, and toss?
You've got it.
I wet my rag, wipe the area, and then I toss it.
Okay. The next step is to clean your tools. They're contaminated too. On some jobs, you may want to bag them and take them back to the shop for cleaning. But whether you do it now or later, the process is the same. Wet it, wipe it, and toss it. Then, it's time to seal the poly disposal bags. Make sure they're not too full, and if they're heavy, double bag them. I want to start with twisting the opening like this. Tape the neck a couple of times. And then fold the neck over. This is called a gooseneck. And continue to tape. Tape the neck shut. This makes a good strong seal that will keep dust and dirt inside. The last thing is to make sure the bag is labeled, the lead label. There should be no mistake that this bag contains lead. Now, if it doesn't already have a lead label on it, you're going to have to label it yourself. Now remember, this bag does contain lead, so don't handle it roughly. You don't want to tear one of these and make a mess.
So what do I do with all this?
That's the last item to clean up, Kirby. But before you step off the poly, be sure to clean your shoes.
Dust.
That's right. If you've got it on your shoes, you can track it around the apartment. So use a rag and wipe off each shoe. That's right. Now when the shoe's clean, step off the poly.
Same thing with the other shoe, right?
You've got it. Wet, wipe, and toss. Now take your mister and lightly spray the poly. The water traps the dust and keeps it on the poly when you roll it up.
You want me to roll it up now?
Yes, but don't just roll it. What you want to do is fold it in on itself, dirty side in. And you want to make sure and not touch the dirty side.
Like this?
Just like that. Be careful not to disturb the dust. Now carefully put the poly in a disposal bag.
It seems like a waste to use this just once.
It may seem like a waste, but it's worth the cost. It prevents you from taking lead from one job to another, and it keeps you from getting exposed.
I hear you.
Now you go back and wipe with cleaner the area where the poly was and 2 feet beyond.
I know. I'll have to wet, wipe, and toss.
Exactly. Then rinse wipe the same area. Another wet wipe and toss. Now you can peel off your gloves into the bag and seal it with a gooseneck.
I guess I'm just about done here. Thanks for all your help.
Anytime. We'll see you back at the shop, Kirby. Cleaning up after a high-risk job is a little different. Most of the time, you'll be dealing with a larger area, so you're going to need more than just a sponge or some rags. The first step is to use the HEPA vac all around the poly. Vacuum at least 2 feet around it. Fold the edges in over the center and vacuum under the sheet as well. After you've vacuumed the floor, you can vacuum yourself. This is called a dry decon, or dry decontamination. It's an excellent way to remove some of the dust from your protective clothing and equipment. Be sure to do this on a piece of poly. The idea is to decontaminate, not recontaminate. Now you can take off your coveralls, but do it in a way that keeps the remaining dust from spreading. Loosen the tape from your gloves, then roll the coveralls down your body, pulling the sleeves inside out. This way, any dust that remains on your suit stays on your suit. Now, don't forget to clean your shoes before you step off the poly. Now, if you're using disposable coveralls, you can roll them up with the poly and seal everything in a disposable bag. Good job, guys. Now there's just mopping to do. On jobs where there's a lot of dust, you'll need to clean the area with a mop, and there's a special procedure for this too. It's called the 3-bucket system. You'll use 1 bucket with cleaner, a 2nd bucket as a wringer, and 1 more with clean water that's used as a rinse for the mop. Here's how the 3-bucket system works. Fill your mop with cleaner. Then, wring out the excess in the wringer bucket. Then begin mopping the floor. Work just a small section at a time, like this. Do this until the mop becomes dry. Then slosh it around in the rinse bucket and wring it out. Oh, by the way, you probably have to change the rinse water from time to time, depending on how dirty the floor is. Remember, it's called a clean rinse. That means clean water. Now, this might seem like a long, involved process, but think about it. If there's dust on the floor, you'll pick it up with the mop. That's the idea. So if I used only 1 bucket, I'd carry the lead dust from the floor right into the cleaner. I'd contaminate it. Then I'd recycle the dust back onto the floor. Not a good idea. That's also why I didn't wring out the mop in the rinse bucket. That would contaminate the water that is supposed to be cleaning the mop. So always use a separate wringer bucket. Think of it as your lead trap. Once you've cleaned the floor, you'll have to rinse it. That's right. It's another 3-bucket system. The clean rinse, the dirty rinse, and the wringer bucket. The rinse process follows the same steps as cleaning. But make sure you change the mop head and replace it with a clean one. Dip the mop into the clean rinse. Wring out the excess into the wringer bucket. Then, mop the floor. Again, work just a small area. When the mop is dry, slosh the mop in the dirty rinse, wring it out thoroughly, then slosh it around in the clean rinse. Wring it out again, and continue mopping. You'll have to change the water when it gets dirty, which brings up an important question. What do you do with the dirty water? John, what's the word on this?
First of all, there shouldn't be any heavy debris in the wash or the rinse water. You've already picked it up before you started the mopping operation. You may be able to take it and put it either in a sanitary sewer or in the toilet, but you need to check with the water or the sewer authority first.
Okay. Hey, John, how about just pouring it down the resident's sink?
The sink, never, absolutely never would you put it in a resident's sink, and don't take the water and throw it out in the yard where the children can get at it.
Okay, John, I won't do that. All right, it's all right. It's all right, John, it's fine. Won't put it outdoors. After you've finished cleaning and rinsing the floor, you'll have to vacuum once more. Again, use the HEPA vac under the area where the poly was and at least 2 feet around it. Contaminated debris properly bagged and sealed. Yes. Debris, tools, materials, equipment removed from residence. Uh-huh. Residents' belongings returned to original place. Yeah. Oh, what's this? The quality assurance card. It's in your planning tool. It's what you check after the work is completed. To be sure it really is completed, all of it. Quality begins with you. Before you leave the job site, ask yourself this. Would you want to eat in this room? Would you let your children play in here? One more thing to check on. Kirby, where are you going?
I'm taking this to the trash.
Not a good plan, Kirby.
Why not?
It's not just trash, Kirby. This has lead, dust, and debris in it. Now, you've done a pretty good job keeping the dust contained, but now we need to make sure that no one, especially someone young, can get into it. Why don't you give that to me?
Sure.
Keep trash with lead, dust, and debris in it in a designated area so that no one, dogs, scavengers, or children, can get into it. Now, you can store it in a maintenance shop or keep it in an area like this until it can be carried away with the garbage. Well, now that that's done, as soon as we're cleaned up, the job is over. So I'm going to hit the washroom and go home for dinner. One job.
We're having the time of our lives. We're healthy, and we got Medicare supplement insurance for when we're not. And you should see the look on the kids' faces when we pull up in this thing.
Mutual of Omaha Insurance.
So you can adapt your work practices and minimize your exposure. You can also use a dust test after the job to make sure you don't leave lead dust behind for the next resident. Today we've got a new job, some carpet that needs to be replaced. Sounds pretty messy, a lot of dust. Sounds like a high-risk situation. Not necessarily if you're careful and follow all the right steps. Let's see how Ben and Scott handle this low-risk job. To minimize the dust, shut down the HVAC and cover the vents. Then, since carpet removal usually affects the whole room, all the furniture and the resident's personal items have to be removed. The room has to be completely empty. If this was a high-risk job, Ben and Scott would have installed a Z-fold partition, and they'd have to wear respirators. But in this case, the carpet itself is in good shape with minimal lead dust, so we don't have to take the extra precautions that we would with a very old and dusty carpet. The next step to minimize your risk is to mist the carpet with water. This will help keep the dust down. Like I mentioned on the last job, water makes the dust heavy and keeps it from spreading. After you've misted the carpet, the next step is to loosen it from the tack strips or the glue. If the carpet is large and heavy, cut it into manageable sections to make it easier to handle and carry when it's wet. Roll the carpet pile side in. That keeps the dust contained inside the carpet. And while you're rolling it, mist the back of the carpet with water. Use as much water as you need to control the dust. Remember, you don't want to breathe this stuff. The carpet can be rolled in poly, or you can put the pieces in a poly bag. Secure it with tape. You don't want anyone reusing this carpet. Follow the same process to minimize the dust with the carpet pad. Make sure it's misted. Roll it up, misting the back of the pad as you go. Then, wrap it in poly and tape it, or again, seal it in a poly bag. After the carpeting and the padding have been removed, it's time to get the remaining lead dust off the floor. Start by vacuuming the entire floor with the HEPA-Vac. If you do a dust test and find that levels are below the HUD EPA clearance standards, then you are finished. If not, you can continue with the multi-stage cleaning process. Remove the dust from your clothes. You want to keep them from contaminating the floor as you finish cleaning it. Now it's time to mop the floor. First with the cleaner, then with the rinse. Remember to mop the floor in small sections. Don't try to cover the whole floor at once. And remember to change out the rinse water whenever it starts to get dirty. Where did you empty that, Scott?
In the toilet.
Good man. The last step is to HEPA-Vac the floor one more time. The poly-covered sections of carpet and padding are removed and put into storage. And the floor is ready for a new covering. Good job, guys. John, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm betting that you've removed some carpets before. Am I right?
I'd say a few in my time.
Right. Now, we both know that there's a lot of dust and dirt underneath a carpet, maybe even lead dust underneath older carpets. Now, how can you remove a carpet like that and still classify it as a low-risk situation?
Well, again, it reverts back to the use of the planning tool. If we evaluate the job itself first, then we can prescribe the proper measures to deal with it. Again, if you have an old, worn, dusty carpet, then it's going to be a high-risk job, and it's going to require you to take special precautions using trained people with proper safety equipment. But if it's a job like Scott and Ben did, where they were misting and cutting as they went, and if they follow the same procedures, it in fact will be able to be done in a safe manner. But the key, again, is the evaluation and use of the planning tool. But there's another tool that you can use, and that's the tool that doesn't sit in the toolbox. It's the tool that rests on your shoulders, and that's the tool of knowledge.
All right, John. Well, thanks very much.
It's my pleasure. And again, what we're really trying to do is establish a safe workplace, which ultimately will lead to a healthy place to raise our kids.
All right, John. Well, I guess we're just about done here. Did you get some good ideas about how to deal with lead? Good. Just remember, you've got 2 tasks now with every job. First, your maintenance work, and preventing lead poisoning. So, work smart, work wet, work clean, and you'll be working safe. Safe from lead. See you around.
Why do we always get apartments with dogs in them?
It's karma. Maybe your karma once ran over somebody's dogma.
Say what? What are you talking about? I never drove over a dog.
Forget it.
Say, man, what time is it?
It's almost 1:30.
Oh, no wonder. I'm hungry.
You're always hungry.
No, I just get hungry at lunchtime. This is past lunchtime.
Okay, I hear you. What about this stuff?
Hello? Oh, just a minute, I'll go get him. Oh, excuse me, you've got a phone call? Yeah, I think it's your boss.
Thanks. Could you tell him I'll be there in just a minute? I want to get my shoes cleaned off first, okay?
He'll be just a minute. He's on his way. Oh, fine, I guess. I really don't know. He won't let me into the room to see what he's doing.
Thank you. Drake? Yes, sir. Well, no, I'm not finished here yet. There's still a ways to go. Well, can't somebody else do that? Well, even if I were to leave right now, I mean, there's still a lot of cleanup left. My tools are out. I've got dust everywhere, and, well, there's special circumstances here. Yes, sir.
Is something wrong?
I think we can fix this. It's not that big of an area.
Yeah, but you see what's causing it? Air conditioner's got a leak.
Yeah, so?
Maybe we should do something about that air conditioner. It's not going to do any good if all we do is fix the paint.
I don't know anything about fixing air conditioners.
Well, me neither.
So what's the planning tool say?
It doesn't say anything about fixing an air conditioner. Same with the work order.
So what do you want to do?
Well, I don't know, but we've got to do something.
How's it going?
Oh, just fine. It's going to be a fine-looking door when the paint dries.
Well, since you're here, would you mind repainting this wall?
Well, it does need a lot of work. I can't do it today.
I don't see why not. Same color as you're using on the door. It won't take that long.
The wall needs to be scraped and sealed.
Well, don't you have scraper?
Yes, I do, but the paint may contain lead. I don't have the right equipment.
You just told me that you have a scraper. Now, what more do you need?
Ma'am, you'll have to call the maintenance office and have them send somebody else out, take a look at it, and write up another work order.
Someone to come out and take a look. Do you know how long it takes your boss to do something around here? Now, I'm tired of looking at this wall, and it isn't getting any better.
I understand, ma'am.
No, you don't. You don't have to live with this. Now, if you won't do it, then I will. Now, you just leave me that can of paint and that scraper, and I'll take care of it myself.
See the children play, the dreamers and the dancers, filled with life today and hope for tomorrow, free to be themselves, no fear, no sense of danger anywhere. And they count on us to keep their future bright. For everything we do, every step we take, their lives are on the line, and their futures are at stake. Let's keep their futures bright.
Father comes home and the kids run up. The kids are small, so they're right in your lap, and if you're walking home with this dust on you, then they're getting exposed on a nightly basis.
Just be conscious that when you go into a home to do any kind of work, that there's a little person there. And whatever you do, that little person could pay the consequences if it's not done right.
I'd have to go back to the basic steps. Don't make a mess. If you do, contain it, and then clean it up.
We don't know what we're doing to our children. We don't know what we're doing to our future.
Don't worry, little ones. We've got you on our minds as we do our jobs with each decision that we make. We know we've learned a way to make a difference starting today. And you're counting on us to keep your future bright by everything we do, every step we take. Lives are on the line, and your futures are at stake. We've got to work clean. We've got to work smart. We've got to do it right from the heart. Let's keep their futures bright.